The matchup today. Now, this is a game that people normally wouldn't even pay attention to. The number one pick, though, was playing against a 5th round pick. When have you ever heard a game get that hype? When have you ever seen a game with the number one pick, Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans, and they're not doing well, against a 5th round pick, SHEDEUR Sanders, and the Cleveland Browns? They ain't doing well either. So why does that game have so much hype? See, this is what I'm talking about. People know who the ball players are. You have no reason to watch that game. Tennessee ain't doing nothing, and Cleveland, when you based off their records, they ain't doing nothing. But you got 2 box office players. You got Cam Ward, who's the number one pick. Got to see what he does. And you got that guy, that Sanders guy, SHEDEUR. We're going to talk about that and much more on this episode of the Coach Cherry Show.
Like the song snitching, forgetting the past. I'm looking past that. Imagine that. You ain't gotta ask that. That's my energy. Yeah, that's my energy. Changing what it is, what it's meant to be. You don't like where you at? Switch the scenery. And keep it 100, keep it a century. That's my energy. Yeah, that's my energy. Changing what it is, what it's meant to be.
I need all my coaches to bring it in. All my coaches. Come on now. Come on, coaches. I said, come on, coaches, bring it in. Y'all, I'm imploring with you. I want y'all to have an eye for talent. And I'm going to be honest with you. How do you get an eye for talent? That's a great question. What scouts, what coaches need to have, you need to be able to look at someone and say, they can play. I don't want to hear about no analytics. I don't want to hear about no, look, are we going to use analytics? Sure. Are we going to use stats? Sure we are. I'm not saying completely do away with them. Yeah, that is a part of the evaluation process. To me, the biggest part of the evaluation process is, let me watch you play. Play. A basketball player. Before you throw out numbers, coach, they're averaging this amount of points and they're shooting this from the field and they're averaging this assist and rebounds. And that's wonderful. Yay. I want to see them play. Because I've seen players play that have averaged single digits and they look better than somebody averaging double digits. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a player average 15, 16 points and another player average 6 or 7, and the one that's averaging 6 or 7, they're the better player. They just may not be in the right situation. They just may not have the right opportunity. I'm talking about eye test. Where's your eye test? You ain't got no eye test? You guys have heard me say this before, and I am big on this. The biggest evaluating tool, in my opinion, is the eye test. The eye test. It's the eye test. This is why a lot of people say Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. It's the eye test. I mean, you start throwing numbers around. LeBron's the all-time leading scorer. I mean, yeah, you can go back and forth with numbers. But it's something about the way Michael Jordan looked when he played. Now, some of you might say, that's just what it is. The eye test. SHEDEUR Sanders. You know, when I watched SHEDEUR at Colorado, well, first of all, before Colorado, Jackson State. When I looked at him at Jackson State, I'm going to be on my initial eye test for SHEDEUR Sanders was, okay. I like what I see. He looks good. See, and everybody has a different eye test. I'm talking about Coach Cherry's eye test. I want to see, are you comfortable? Did you hear what I just said? Are you comfortable? One of the biggest components of my eye test is, are they comfortable? Are they rattled? Are you comfortable? Are you smooth? I'm talking about your fluidity, your balance, your agility, your demeanor. I'm going to use an old term that probably doesn't get used that much anymore. You got to have a little swag to you. I didn't say cocky. I didn't say be a jerk. That's not what I said. But you need some type of bravado to you, some type of, I'm good. And not only am I good, I know I'm good. Oh, you gotta have that. I'm talking about my eye test. I'm watching SHEDEUR at Jackson State, and I said, yeah, this young man is, yeah, he can play. He can play. And then when he transferred with his dad to Colorado, I said, oh. And I'm watching SHEDEUR last year at Colorado. And me and a buddy of mine were going back and forth. SHEDEUR, Cam Ward. SHEDEUR, Cam Ward. I felt like SHEDEUR was the better quarterback. They both had outstanding numbers. Again, the eye test. When I watched Cam Ward and I watched SHEDEUR, I felt like SHEDEUR is better. Now, I don't even want to compare those two because they played today and Tennessee ended up winning the game 31-29. SHEDEUR Sanders had himself a day. SHEDEUR Sanders threw for 364 yards. The first rookie quarterback to throw for over 300 yards this season. You got to remember, he's just making his third start. What week is this? Week 12? Week 13? What week is this? Week 14? This is week 14. This is week 14. SHEDEUR Sanders is making his third. So he started weeks 12, 13, and 14. He gave the other rookie quarterbacks 11 weeks to do this, and they did not do it. He is the first rookie quarterback to throw for over 300 yards this season. 3 touchdowns. Also had 3 carries for 29 yards, almost 10 yards a carry, and a touchdown. Each week, he's looking more comfortable. Why do you say that, Coach Jerry? He's practicing with the first team. He's thrown for over 750 yards. He's about to break 1,000 yards. He's hardly even played. He's not on a great team. I saw something today. What'd you see, Coach Jerry? Cleveland was down 31-17. SHEDEUR Sanders, let me just give you, let me walk you through this game today. Tennessee, Cleveland. Cam Ward throws a touchdown. Tennessee's up 7-0. Cleveland kicks a field goal. It's 7-3. Tony Pollard runs a touchdown. It's 14-3 Tennessee. SHEDEUR Sanders hits David Njoku for a touchdown. It's 14-10. SHEDEUR hits Jerry Jeudy on a 60-yard touchdown pass. At half, Cleveland is leading 17-14 at the half. Third quarter, Tony Pollard, his second touchdown. They're up 21-17. Cam Ward throws another touchdown. And then Tennessee kicks a field goal. Tennessee is now up 31-17 in the fourth quarter. Cleveland's down 14. SHEDEUR takes Cleveland on a 5-play, 66-yard drive. Runs it in from 7 yards out. It's 31-23 with about 4:27 remaining. Why are we going for 2 points? I'm seeing something in the NFL this year. A lot of coaches, what's this phenomenon of going for 2 early? Now, if it's less than 3 minutes, 2 minutes, something, I get that. I'm seeing coaches go for 2 in the third quarter. You know why? Probably because the analytics say, what are analytics going to be? Coaches, y'all better stop that analytic stuff. And you better just start thinking and coaching with logic and just common sense and just the feel of the game. Use your instincts. The analytics say in third quarter with 3 minutes remaining, 38% of the time, if you go for 2, you have a good chance. Man, y'all better cut that out and just coach. Just coach. Analytics is some created stuff. Just coach. Same thing in basketball. The analytics say if you shoot this amount of 3-pointers, you better just go out there and coach and win the game. Just win the game. Put the ball in the basket. They go for 2. I felt like they went for 2 too early. They don't get it. So Cleveland is now down 31-23, 4:27 remaining. They get a stop. They get the ball back. SHEDEUR takes them down the field on a 7-play, 80-yard drive. Wow, that's nice. 2-minute drill. 7-play, 80 yards in 1 minute and 40 seconds. And he hits Harold Fannin Jr. for a touchdown pass. 7-yard touchdown pass to Harold Fannin Jr. Okay. It's 31-29, ladies and gentlemen, with 1 minute left in the game. 1:03 to be exact. Yes, you have to go for 2 now. This is when you go for 2. It is 31-29. 1:03 left. Cleveland is down 2. They're setting up for their 2-point conversion. SHEDEUR Sanders has thrown for 364 yards at this point, 3 touchdowns. He's also run for a touchdown. SHEDEUR Sanders at this point is the first rookie quarterback this season to throw for 300 yards. At this point, SHEDEUR Sanders is the only rookie in NFL history, other than Joe Burrow, to throw for over 350 yards, have 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown in the same game. Only he and Joe Burrow have done it in the history of the National Football League. Listen to what I'm saying. SHEDEUR Sanders is the first Cleveland Browns quarterback since 1950 to have these numbers. I didn't say rookie quarterback. I said Cleveland Browns quarterback, period. And when they line up to go for 2, Coach Kevin Stefanski takes SHEDEUR out the game. He takes SHEDEUR out of the game. A quarterback that is on fire just drove you down the field. 7 plays, 80 yards in less than 2 minutes. Takes him out the game. You're trying to tie it up to send it to overtime. He takes his best player out of the game. They run some gadget play, some silly trick play. It doesn't work. What are you doing? What was that about? You took him out? The quarterback, clearly they can't stop him. He's marching you down the field. He's got over 350 passing yards. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns. The only Cleveland Browns quarterback to do this since 1950. And he's run for a touchdown. So he's dangerous with his legs. He's dangerous with his arm. And when it's time to tie the game up, Coach Stefanski takes him out. Wow. Huh? What is that? That would be like me coaching a basketball game. And I have a player that has 30 plus points. Man, they are cooking. Woo, they can't stop them. And on the final possession to tie the game up, I take him out the game. I know what'll trick him. I know what'll get him if I take my best player out. That'll get him. What in the world are you talking about? Take your best. I wish the Golden State, let me coach against Golden State. And they're down 3 on the final possession. And Steve Kerr says, I know what'll get Coach Cherry. I'm going to take Steph Curry out. He'll never see that coming. Oh, please do. Kerr, go ahead, take him out. Please do. Coach Stefanski, Tennessee hadn't stopped SHEDEUR all day. I know it'll get the Titans. I know SHEDEUR has been marching up and down the field all day. I know that he's got 4 touchdowns on it. They can't stop him. I know what'll trick them. I'll take him out of the game. Man, come on, y'all. Come on, man. This stuff is... I don't know how you justify that. That is absolutely ridiculous. And see, some people wonder why they were saying it looks like Stefanski doesn't want him to succeed. How could you say that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you assume something like that? That doesn't make any... Because of that right there, that's silly. I don't know how you justify that. What was that? No, I don't want to hear about a trick play. I don't want to hear about a trick play with Judkins, and I don't want to hear about none of that. You took your best player out? The player who was having the biggest game, you benched him on the... Yeah, okay. Okay. If you say so. That looks ridiculous. Now, some people are going to say he's trying to sabotage SHEDEUR. That would have been a win. If they tied it, the way SHEDEUR was playing, if they tie it up and go to overtime, SHEDEUR's on fire. Cleveland could potentially win that game. That could be another win for SHEDEUR. And the coach robbed him of it. He set him on the sideline. SHEDEUR had no control over the outcome. None. I can't control the outcome on the sideline. There's nothing I can do. Coach set him down with the game in balance. Wow. Look, I think SHEDEUR has shown he should start the rest of it. And him being a 5th round pick, I think he's shown by now that was absolutely ridiculous. A 5th rounder? No. Nope, not a 5th round pick. He's got 769 yards already and only 3 starts. 5 touchdowns. No, y'all. Maybe Coach Stefanski will give a response to why he sat him down during that situation. I don't know what he's going to say. I'm going to assume he says something to the degree of we were trying to fool the defense and run a trick play or something. But if they're not stopping him in your base offense, why go to a trick play? I don't know. But hopefully SHEDEUR is the starter the rest of the season. Because I think at this point, especially after today, he has earned it. He has earned it. Something else unexpected happened today. Not just SHEDEUR getting benched with the game on the line. The New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panther fans, lend me your ears. I didn't see this one coming. The New Orleans Saints beat Tampa Bay. Ooh, they did the Panthers a favor. The Panthers already controlled their own destiny. What do you mean by that, Coach Cherry? The Panthers didn't need any help. If the Panthers win out, they're in. Period. They don't need somebody else to lose. And they don't need that. The Panthers have positioned themselves. If they win the last 4 games, or watch this, they don't have to win all 4. If they win 3 of the last 4, if they beat New Orleans and they beat Tampa twice, they are in the playoffs. They don't even have to beat Seattle. Seattle's a free game. You can experiment and do what you want to with Seattle. If you win the other 3, the Seattle game doesn't even matter. But New Orleans did them a favor. Because had Tampa won, Tampa would have had a 1-game lead over Carolina. Now Carolina would need a little bit of help. They would need Tampa to lose a game somewhere. But Tampa and Carolina are now tied for first place. Wow. Now, both teams are 7-6. Both teams are 2-1 in the division. This upcoming Sunday, Carolina going to New Orleans was already a big game. It's huge now. That game is now huge. We know New Orleans and Atlanta are already eliminated from playoff contention. So they're not playing for anything. New Orleans is 3-10. Atlanta is 4-9. Both of those teams are done. They're done. The Panthers have swept Atlanta. Those teams are done. But here's the thing about New Orleans that the Panthers have to be careful about. Yes, they are 3-10. But they beat Carolina already. So, not only have they shown they can beat Carolina, you might say, well, that was weeks ago. Okay, well, today they just beat Tampa. So New Orleans is showing, hey, we can beat you now. Don't let the 3-10 record fool you. We can beat you, and you're coming to New Orleans? I mean, am I concerned? I would have the Panthers favored in that game. And I'm going to be honest with you, y'all. I'm going to be very honest with you. I know New Orleans has beaten Carolina before in Charlotte. I know New Orleans beat Tampa. But I feel good about the Panthers playing the Saints. I feel good about that game. No, I wouldn't say it's a lock because it's sports. Anything can happen in sports, any given Sunday. But if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say I give Carolina about a 90% chance to win. I feel about 90% sure the Panthers are going to go to New Orleans and win. I got to believe coming off a bye week, hopefully a Christian Roseboom is back. Hopefully a J.C. Horn is back. Hopefully you're getting guys back healthier. Bryce Young continues to get more healthy with the ankle, more close. Chuba Hubbard closer to 100. These guys are closer to 100% now. Maybe you get some of the old linemen back. So the Panthers are going to be as close to 100% as possible with that bye week. And they've had 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks. Now you got to keep this in mind. Tampa plays Atlanta next week. I know they should beat Atlanta, but they should have beaten New Orleans. Carolina, if you beat New Orleans next week and Tampa loses to Atlanta, oh, we're really talking about something now. Now we are really talking about something. It looks like Bryce Young and those guys they look more confident now. And, I'm sure that wherever they were today watching the game, I'm sure they saw the result and they got to be saying, yo, this playoff thing is real. This is a real possibility. Huh? This is a real... After next Sunday, the Panthers can be in sole possession of first place. What if Tampa loses to Atlanta and Carolina beats New Orleans? Now you got an 8-6 Carolina team and a 7-7. Carolina is sole possession of first place if that happens. And that could happen. Baker Mayfield looks like he's, he may not be 100% the rest of the season. He looks a little banged up. Bucky Irvin may be a little banged up. Mike Evans is not back yet. Like Tampa is a little banged up. Carolina can take care. Which Carolina Panthers team will we see? The team that lost to New Orleans earlier or the team that beat the Los Angeles Rams? Which Carolina Panthers team will we see? The team that got run off the field by Buffalo or the team that went up to Green Bay and won? Which Carolina Panthers team will we see? Here's my thing about the Panthers. Let's back up. Let's look at Tampa. Tampa's 4 remaining games. Atlanta, we said Atlanta. And then they come to Charlotte. They go to Miami. That's a dangerous game. In-state rivalry. And then they play us at home, last game of the season, which could be for the final playoff spot in the NFC. So they have Atlanta, us, Miami, us. Got it. Carolina, at New Orleans, hosting Tampa, hosting Seattle. Don't know how much that game is going to mean as far as playoff implications. And then go to Tampa. Now, when you look at the schedule on ESPN.com, the last 2 games of the season for Carolina are flex games. the NFL knows, those could potentially be some big games. Winning the division, you automatically get a home playoff game. Is it possible? The Panthers could be host. Bank of America Stadium would be absolutely wild. Not just Bank of America Stadium, all Uptown would be absolutely wild. Woo! But here's the thing about the Carolina Panthers. We got to address this when we're talking about the Panthers. We have to address this because I said with 4 weeks remaining, they may need to win 3 out of those 4. Well, when you look at Carolina, look at the Panthers' schedule, the last 7 games, listen to the results for the Carolina Panthers, the last 7 games. A win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. It's literally a different team every week. The last 7 weeks, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win. They can't do that no more. Now, I think the concern, if you're a Panthers fan, is, okay, they haven't been consistent. So they're going to need to do something these last 4 weeks they haven't done all season. What's that, Coach Cherry? Win consistently. They haven't done that all season. Now, they did have a 3-game winning streak earlier in the season. They did. They had a 3-game winning streak earlier in the season. And during that 3-game win streak, who'd they beat? They beat Miami, they beat Dallas, and they beat the Jets. Okay. Only one of those teams is really in playoff contention. That's Dallas. Miami's not in playoff contention, and neither are the Jets. But now, these last 4 weeks, you're playing 3 games. Tampa twice, playoff contention team, and Seattle, clearly. So you're playing a pretty tough schedule. And you haven't shown consistency all season other than that 3-game win streak earlier in the year. So as Panther fans, we're hoping, can they be consistent, which they haven't really done? They're forced to do it now. But I'm going to be very honest with you. It all starts, because see, if you go to New Orleans and lose, the only thing that can really help you at that point is if Tampa loses to Atlanta. If you go to New Orleans and lose, ugh, yeah, you ain't helped yourself at all. And I'm talking about at all. You can't go to New Orleans and lose. You cannot go to New Orleans and lose. Panthers, we'll see. We'll see. Focus on New Orleans next week. That's the first focus. The college football playoff bracket came out. The college football playoff bracket is out. There was a lot of controversy. Who should get in? Who should not get in? Alabama, Miami, Notre Dame. Who should be in? Who should? 2 of those 3 made it. Listen, here's the issue with college football. As far as the playoffs are concerned, the only reason there's controversy is because they want the little guy to get in. That's the only reason. The only reason there is any controversy is because they're trying to include everyone. Let me say this. Playoffs are supposed, see, professional sports does it that way. What are you saying? In the NBA, they are taking the top 8 teams from each conference. The top 8 from the West, the top 8 from the East, period. That's who's in the playoffs. In the NFL, we're going to take the top 7 teams from the NFC, the top 7 teams from the AFC. That's it. We ain't taking nobody else. But it's only in college that they're trying to include everyone. And in college, they do the same thing in basketball. The same thing for March Madness. They want to include the quote-unquote little guy. If you're picking the top 12 teams in college football, then James Madison and Tulane are not in. They're just not in. Now, I'm happy that James Madison is in. I want to see their quarterback, Alonzo Barnett III. I think he's very talented, and he's had a heck of a season. I want to see him on the big stage. So I'm a little biased. I want to see James Madison in. But I'm also real, too. If we're saying top 12 teams, James Madison's not in. If we're saying top 12 teams, no, James Madison is not in over Notre Dame. Tulane is not in over Texas or Vanderbilt or BYU. Of course not. If we're saying the top 12 teams in the country, then Tulane would lose their spot to Notre Dame, and James Madison would lose their spot to BYU. BYU is number 12. When you look at the rankings and you look at your top 12 as far as the AP top 12, BYU is number 12. Notre Dame's in the top 12, and they're not in the playoffs. BYU and Notre Dame are ranked in the AP top 12, and they're out of the playoffs. But see, that's the way the criteria has been set when they say conference champs get an automatic bid. That was put in so that everybody would feel included. I don't want to say that everybody gets a trophy, participation trophy thing, but that's kind of what it is. And I think that model came from college basketball. In college basketball, all the Division I champs, if you win your conference, you're in the field of 64. Or now, I guess they've expanded it to 68. Those aren't the top 68 teams. You see teams from power conferences sitting at home every year that are better than champions from smaller conferences. It happens every year. So when you look at college basketball and college football, no, we don't have the top 12 teams in the country. We don't have the top 68 teams in college basketball for March Madness. We don't. I will say the difference with basketball is, though, you have the potential for an upset. In basketball, we've seen those smaller schools. Steph Curry took Davidson to the Elite Eight. Took him to the Elite Eight. We've seen those smaller schools going, VCU, when Shaka Smart had VCU going all the way to the Final Four. That happens a lot in March Madness. A lot. We saw when San Diego State went to the Final Four, and who else went to the Final Four? Was it Florida Gulf Coast? We've seen that, where smaller schools will make these deep runs in the tournament. I don't know if you're going to see that in football. Football is a completely different sport. I don't know if Tulane is going to make it to the semifinals of the college football playoffs. Yeah, that's asking a lot. Tulane is playing an Ole Miss team that they lost to by 5 touchdowns this season. Yeah, I don't know if Tulane is going to be able to pull off that upset. And if Tulane does beat Ole Miss, then they have to face Georgia. I'm talking about just to get to the semifinals. So Tulane would have to knock off 2 SEC teams to get to this. If it were basketball, they could do it. Football, those offensive and defensive linemen and linebackers, no. Tulane's not going to beat Ole Miss. And to be honest, the game probably, I was going to say it probably won't be close. Lane Kiffin's gone. That does mean something. The head coach is gone. Now, I saw he let his he took the offensive coordinator with him to LSU, but now he's allowing the offensive coordinator to come back to Ole Miss and coach the playoffs. So that helps Ole Miss. But Lane Kiffin not being there Ole Miss is still going to win the game. I would be stunned if Tulane beat Ole Miss. But it may not be by as much as it would be if Lane Kiffin were there. See, all that can be a distraction. So Tulane needs to use that to their advantage. All this coaching stuff going on at Ole Miss, and the head coach is gone, the OC leaves, and the OC comes back, and they promote the assistant to. It's a lot of mess going on. So that can be a distraction for the team. So maybe Tulane can use that to its advantage some. It's going to be tough for James Madison to go out to Eugene, Oregon, and beat Oregon. Oregon is really, really good. They almost got a top 4 seed. It's going to be tough for James Madison. It's going to be tough for James Madison and Tulane. It's going to be tough for them guys to keep the game close. You're talking about just the size and the strength and the physicality and team speed. Whew, those coaches are going to have to really scheme up something to even stay in the game. That's a tough ask. But the only reason there was any controversy is because they're not taking the 12 best teams. If the NCAA wants to do away with controversy, just take the 12 best teams. Now, what happens if you do that is the little guy never has a chance. A James Madison never has a chance at the college football playoffs if you do that. The only way a James Madison, a Tulane, a North Texas, the only way they have a chance they would have to schedule one of these big schools during the season. See, that's why I was okay with Boise State getting in last year. You know why I was okay with that? Because Boise State went to Oregon, the number one team in the country, with Dylan Gabriel, and only lost by 3. They lost by a last-second field goal. Boise State went to Oregon and took the number one team in the country, who nobody had beaten all season, down to the final play and lost by a field goal. I said, okay, well, Boise State, they can compete with the big boys there. I have no problem with them in the playoffs. If the little guy wanted to be considered one of the top teams, they would have to schedule one of the bigger teams during the season. I do like that James Madison beat Washington State. And I know Washington State is not a great team. I think they may have finished with 6 wins, so they may be bowl eligible. But I do like the fact that James Madison beat Washington State. They did play a bigger school, not one of the best schools, but at least they have played a bigger school. Who would I pick to win these college football playoffs? Indiana just beat Ohio State. I was a little surprised about that. Kurt Cignetti, one of the best, maybe the best coach in college football. My champion would come from the top 4. This is tough. I'm leaning towards Ohio State and Georgia. I'm going to hold off on my pick for one more week. Yeah, I'm going to hold off on my pick for one more week. I'm leaning towards Ohio State and Georgia. Let's talk a little basketball. I watched Duke and Michigan State this weekend. College basketball. Y'all, Duke is the best program in the country. It is. I was already thinking that last year, but I watched Duke Saturday against Michigan State. Duke is the best program in the country. It is. They beat Michigan State 66-60. The job that Jon Scheyer is doing is amazing. Jon Scheyer has no head coaching experience, y'all. For your first head coaching job to be the head coach at Duke? Wow, that's a lot. And you're coming right after, arguably, the greatest college basketball coach ever. You're coming not a 2 or 3 year span after, you're the next coach up. I felt like you're going to have to give Jon Scheyer a couple years to figure this thing out. He's taken over a historically great program. And I know most of their history is tied up into Coach K. They've had a couple of good seasons before Coach K, but most of their successful history is Coach K. Historically great program. And for him to keep it at that level, I said, y'all gonna have to give Coach Scheyer a couple years, man. Let him figure some things out. Let him learn some things. Look, Coach Scheyer has hit the ground running. I know he doesn't have a national title. It's only his 4th year. Dean Smith, Coach K, them guys didn't win in 3 or 4 years. Tom Izzo, those guys didn't win in 3 or 4 years. You got to give them some time. But here's what you got to be impressed with. Duke has not dropped off a bit. They have not declined at all. Duke, when I say Duke is the best program in the country, they check all the boxes. They're winning. He just took him to a Final. Jon Scheyer now has a Final 4 on his resume. This is only year number 4. So now watch this. In 3 seasons, he's been to an Elite 8, a Final 4, and he has 2 ACC tournament championships in 3 years. Yeah, that's fine with me. He's won no less than 27 games. Jon Scheyer is coaching. Woo! I liked him as a player. That young man is coaching. Only 38. He's not even 40 years old. Jon Scheyer's not even in his prime yet as a coach. Y'all better look out. When he really figures this thing out, Jon Scheyer hasn't even figured it out yet. That's the scary thing. Jon Scheyer hasn't even figured this thing out yet. Boy, y'all better look out. Wait till that man is about 45 or 46. You really ain't going to want no parts of that. You think it's tough to beat Jon Scheyer now? Wait till he's 45, 46 years old. Whew, okay. They check all the boxes. They have an excellent coach. Check. They're winning. Check. They're getting the top recruits. Check. And here's the big thing. They're putting guys in the NBA. You tell me another program right now, that's putting guys in the NBA like Duke. Coach Chair, who was the number 1 pick last year? It was Cooper Flagg out of Duke. Can I also say this to you? It wasn't just Cooper Flagg. Their entire starting 5 got selected. Cooper Flagg, Khan Knipple, Kaman Malawach, all 3 of them went in the top 10. Tell me another program like that. And they went to the Final Four. And they won the ACC championship. Sion James got selected. Who? Tyrese Proctor got selected. The whole starting 5 is in the NBA. Where do you think players want to play now? They want to go to Duke. Why you think Carlos Boozer's son said, I know their dad played there, and so they may have gone there anyway. But no. If that program was trash right now, you think Carlos Boozer would have sent his kids to Duke if they weren't any good? Just because he played there? No, not at all. Boozer played in the league. Boozer was an all-star. He played on the Olympic team. Now, he knows his basketball. If Duke was struggling right now, he would have told those boys, look, I know your dad played there. We're going somewhere else. And they're still getting top recruits in next year's class. Like, it's the cool program. That's another box. It's relevant. It's cool. The players can relate to it. They got a young, cool coach, but disciplined. They ain't just acting crazy now. And then when you look at Jon Scheyer's coaching, it's good spacing. And it's good ISO basketball with some ball screens mixed. Young players like that. They like that. And he's also got a little old school in there. I'm assuming some stuff he got from Coach K. Some sets and some disciplines, and they defend and they rebound. They carry themselves in a professional manner. He's got the blend and the balance of new school and old school. Jon Scheyer is coaching. Cooper Flagg, first pick last year. Guess what, though? Listen to this. In 2022, Paolo Banchero, number 1 pick. 2019, Zion Williamson, number 1 pick. Every 3 years, they got the number 1 pick. Cam Boozer might be the number 1 pick this year. 2024, Jared McCain got selected in the first round. Kyle Filipowski was selected. They're putting guys in the league every year. The year before that, Derek Lively and Derek Whitehead in the first round. Derek Lively the second and Derek Whitehead. The year before that, Paolo Banchero, Mark Williams, A.J. Griffin, Wendell Moore Jr., all in the first round. And then Trevor Keels went in the second round. They put 5 guys. Duke is the best. Listen, I know Florida won the national title last year. I know that. Their program is not better than Duke's. I know Dan Hurley at UConn won back to. UConn is not a better basketball. Dan Hurley's an excellent coach. Their program is not. Duke is the program right now. Duke is the premier program in basketball right now. I love watching them play. I love how they play. That spacing and, yeah. Even their out-of-bounds plays. Look at their underneath out-of-bounds plays. It's all of them out of the same formation. 3 across, 1 up high. It's all their sets, out-of-bounds baseline, are out of the same formation. 3 across, 1 up high. And they have different actions out of all of it. Outstanding. Outstanding job, Jon Scheyer. Outstanding. Listen, I know he's only 38, and I like the selection of Eric Spoelstra as the Olympic coach. One day, Jon Scheyer will be the Olympic coach. You watch what I'm telling you. One day, Jon Scheyer will be the Olympic coach. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of the Coach Cherry Show. If you're listening by audio, make sure you go to YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. If you're listening by audio, Apple Podcasts, Samsung Podcasts, Patreon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. Until next time, signing off. God bless you, Coach Cherry.
Run my own race, you won't catch me. Follow my passion and see. Let it breathe. Came a long way from minimum wage. Started flipping burgers at minimum age.